Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Florida Man series finale. Great series finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have every storyline finally fully connecting and everything kind of coming to its conclusion. Pretty much worked out in some capacities the way I thought it would, but of course there were some twists and turns and developments here and there. But obviously we are picking up with Mike, who's arrested. He can't get in contact with Iris because obviously she got shot. Well, she's getting that guy, what's his name, Randy or whatever, the call, but obviously Mike doesn't have his phone because he's locked up. Funny enough, I thought Sonny might have gotten there to gloat or whatever. It was like, nope, Sonny got arrested too. You're like, huh. So you got Mike out of the way, and as he says, like, oh, because I never thought, like, it never crossed my mind last episode that, like, oh, Sonny might have been getting you arrested so he could get you out of the way to get all the gold. It's like, well, we find out more later on, but focusing on what we knew at that time, it never even crossed my mind. I was like, no, he did that because he didn't want you to have to kill someone, which Mike is like, I'm a cop, I've done it before. But it's like, yeah, but when you've done that, I mean, because we don't even know if he's ever killed anyone on the job, but the fact is that it's intentionally killing someone on your own is kind of a different thing, because this ain't like, hey, this is a bad guy you're going after with a badge. Regardless of Moss being Moss, it's still someone you're taking a life of, because it's like, hey, these are people who indirectly died. It's like, right, you didn't directly kill Jason. Sadly your sister did. But even then, it still counts. But then you also have the whole situation with Dutch. It's like, well, that wasn't you. Hell, that wasn't even Ray Ray. That was kind of him, and just Florida being, I wouldn't even put that on Florida. It just had that, he just picked the wrong spot to, like, use that lighter to try and get his phone out of the toilet. So it's like, yeah, it's just a different beast in its entirety. But it is the thing that Sonny just like, right, I do legitimately love you and care about you. I know you don't get that, but I do. Problem is, none of us can keep an eye on Moss, so we need to make sure Patsy's okay. But she's not necessarily going to answer the phone because, well, she's got to deal with her own family drama right now. And she's kind of pissed at everyone after everything kind of came out the way it did the last episode. So there's that element to it. But Mike did nail it because he immediately was like, no, Moss isn't going to go there. If he sees both of us getting arrested, he's not going to go to the marina. Well, he finds out about Iris because his bail got posted. I was like, who would have posted your bail? And lo and behold, it's like, of course it would be Moss. So I guess they figured because they both got arrested, maybe he figured like, oh, you both arrested each other. Like this whole thing was a setup or whatever. Like both of you were trying to get to the goal before me. That, or maybe, well, I guess considering the circumstances, it must have been that Deli was like, nah, she must have been the one that told Moss, because there's no way he would have, because as Mike said, he's an idiot. There's no way he would have necessarily figured it out, even with 2 + 2 = 4. Like, he probably still wouldn't have put it together. So I feel like Deli probably led that, just because it's like, right, for one, we still need to get the gold, but also she still needs to string Moss along. It does seem interesting that I think when it's all said and done, I do believe Deli did actually like Moss. So that's what made the ending kind of surprising for me, jumping ahead a little bit, when she actually shot him. I was actually, well, I figured it'd come down to that, but I think she actually legitimately fell in love with him. Once again, she fell in love with him before she found out, like, okay, you're your father's son, but like, you didn't actually do it, your dad did. It's like, wait, you did it, and that's what sucked, because her heart was broken, because it's like, not only did I find out you're a person I was getting close to this entire time, because I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt that you weren't your father, that you're the one that actually killed my dad. Especially because they had this heartfelt conversation. For him, it's like, my dad never prepared me for like when he passed and that everything would come to me. But by coming, like with that came the expectations of everyone telling me I'm not him. He has an inferiority complex. Because it's like, right, everyone compares him to his dad. It's like, oh, you're not your dad. And, he has to live through that. But being around, having Deli in his life balanced that out. It's like, you got me through that, because it happened at the same time Deli came into his life the moment his dad died and everything went over to him. So, and even Deli's like, yeah, you kind of got me through it too, considering what she was going through at the time, losing her dad. And I think she kind of found another place, but that ended up getting torn apart. Like everywhere she tried to, like every, like place she tried to find comfort in and tried to be kind of fell apart, whether it's, her family situation with her mom and dad, or whether it's seeking revenge, that fell apart. Then she tried to make things work between her and Moss. Oh, that fell apart when she found out what he did. Then this gold thing kind of ended up falling apart. The whole thing with Mike kind of ended up falling apart. So it is interesting how that kind of played out. So Mike is forced to help them. And I didn't even piece it together the moment the floor was wet. I was like, it didn't even cross my mind until Mike references that later. I was like, that's why the floor was wet. Okay. So either way, they end up opening up the truck. I was like, okay, so what we're going to find out, there's going to be either nothing back there, or is it going to end up, there's no way it's gold, but either it's going to be nothing back there, or is it going to be a whole bunch of like weapons or something. I was like, is that where the rifles come into play? But there was nothing back there. Which, once again, I figured for the past like 2 episodes or so that there wasn't going to be anything back there, just because that's the poetic, that's just what this would be. Because once again, no one's bothered to check, which immediately I was like, wait, not unless it's you don't think it's in the back of the Porsche, do you? But I'm like, no, because they put the crane driver's body in the Porsche. So I was like, no, it wouldn't be down there, because that's where, we never saw them, but I mean, they were in the process of getting rid of the body, and that's what they were doing. So, but that was a plan to put in the back of the Porsche, and Buzz was like, yeah, I'm willing to make that sacrifice, considering I'm the one that shot him and everything. And it is that thing of, kind of walking away with nothing. It was all for nothing, because the gold isn't here. Once again, as Moss said, gamblers are liars. And he was even saying like, hey, Mike, you were never going to be able to pay off what you owed me. It's like, how deep in the hole were you? But that's always the thing. Like, Moss was probably always going to add more and more interest to it. You were never going to get out of that hole in that regard. But it's probably just a thing of like, how absorbent is your debt to Moss? And he was even like, you were never going to pay that off. I guess like every little favor you did every little thing you did for him chipped away at it at the most minimum amount, I guess. I don't know. But then it's like, okay, you give me this gold, you'll get your share, which will be enough to make us square. It's like, I don't think so. After everything with Mike, like, yeah, you might be like 100 mil richer, but I'm also like, I don't see you really legitimately letting Mike go after everything, but maybe he would have. Who knows about Deli? I feel like he probably wouldn't have, just because of, God, I said Deli. I don't see that in Moss. Because of Deli is what I was trying to say. Because Mike and Deli slept behind his back, he was more willing to forgive Deli because he legitimately loves her. So, and during the tussle, I'm so curious what Moss's final words were going to be, what he's going to say to Mike before he shot him, but Deli ended up putting him down, so. And her words are like, look what you made me do. And I love Mike being like, wait, who are you talking to, him or me? And she's like, both of you. Because it's like, yeah, this whole rigmarole turned into this because of Mike. But it's also, she felt bad about shooting and killing Moss, because it's like, yeah, he killed my dad, but I also did kind of love him. So she had all kind of complicated feelings, even to the point Mike's like, why didn't you shoot him? She's like, when was I supposed to do that? At your sister's house? While we were driving? Like, when was I supposed to kill him, Mike? When exactly when that's supposed to happen? And it's like, I heard you in the recording, which Mike's initial instinct was to trust her, to be like, yo, she's doing that because the guy's got a gun on her. But Iris he got swept up in what Iris said as well as what his dad said, both of them convincing him that, hey, don't listen to her, she's playing you. So that ended up kind of making him not trust her anymore. So, and I love that this moment, Catcher shows up because he saw Mike, Deli, and Moss in that car. He recognized Mike immediately. I got you, and followed them. Which, first and foremost, I meant to talk about this for the past 2 episodes. When Moss beat up that guy in like episode 5, I was like, and he saw the car. I was like, why? Because it just said Philadelphia. It wasn't until the next episode when Deli was like, is that my car? I was like, oh my God, I felt so stupid. I completely forgot that's the car he bought her to get to Florida in the first place. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. That's why I was like, why are you beating this guy up for saying that I was like, no, what are you doing? Just because it said Philadelphia, it's like, no, I forgot. It's legitimately the car he bought for Delhi. I was like, oh, of course. So because we saw the car, obviously that was the car they were in, so it clicked in my head to like bring it up, but I forgot to bring it up for the past 2 episodes. I didn't recognize it in episode 5. I remembered in episode 6, the moment Delhi referenced it, to being like, is that my car? But I forgot to talk about it. So I also wanted to include that. Either way, but Catcher shows up and it's like, okay, yeah, this actually is his gun. And I love that he's just like, I've been through so much. And he's like, I had a finger up my butt. I lost my gun. I was just trying to get a gun. But that obviously, of course, I would end up buying a murder weapon because it's Florida. He's like, I probably passed like 3 or 4 on the way here. So I just want my gun back. That's all I want. I'm not even here for you. I don't even care about your business. I'm not even paying attention to that. I thought what Catcher was going to do was like, hey, I'm going to take my gun and I'm going to say I shot Moss and maybe that'll make things better for me. But it's like, no, let's get the gun. It's most likely stuck in the truck. It was like, well, it might have passed through the truck. So they ended up finding it. They just put Moss's body in the back of the truck and then they sink the truck. So it's like, cool. Now it's going to be buried under a whole bunch of cement. So, and I just love them standing there like, well, anyone got anything to say for Daly? It's like, no, my mom told me never to speak ill of the dead. I have nothing to say to that bastard who killed my father. So, and just everyone kind of goes their way. And it's like, also he needs money for the bus or whatever. And it's like, Deli's like, that's not our problem. And it's like, he's like, and points a gun at him. He's like, sorry about this, but yeah. And so I don't know what they gave. I guess whatever money they had on him. So it's like, all right, let's get out of here. Mike wants to go see Iris, but Deli's giving him the ultimatum. And I see her perspective on it because it's like, right, I want for the first time someone to do something for me because everything, it's like, how much of this has actually been about me, you know? And how much of it is just like, oh, you're helping me out, but really you're helping yourself out because you wanted the gold, Mike. It's like, I'm tired of always having to go to the men in my life for help. I want to just be able to, for one, to be able to take care of myself and not have to, like, because it's like, this all started because I was probably having to turn to her dad for loans, then Moss, and then him, and then Mike. It's just like, she's like, I'm tired of it. I just want to be away from all of this because Mike has a recording he wants to give to Iris, but the problem is that it also includes Deli killing Moss. So it's like, you've got my crime. So he's like, no, I'll just erase your part. But I guess for her, it's like, how can I trust you considering we have the major trust issues we have right now? It's like, choose right now. And Mike chose to stay and let Deli go on her own. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, is that a good relationship or not? I think not. I think you both have so many issues that you don't work. You know, they don't know if that would ever have a happy ending just because of how messed up you both are. But Mike is there with Iris. She's okay. He even got her confession. But the problem is, she's like, cool, I'll bring it up and I'll be able to go after Moss. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to find him. It's like, cool. So now I have Moss's confession, but it doesn't mean anything because I can't actually arrest him and I can't tell them why I don't know where Moss is and why I can't arrest him. So yeah, like Mike thought he was, at the very least, he's like, considering everything that happened, I thought that you should be able to walk away with what you wanted in the first place when you came to Florida. But for her, it's like, I walked away with nothing. She's like, I finally know what it's like to walk in your shoes. Once again, this was her big gamble, like going to be her big move as a detective, and it blew up in her face. But she's like, unlike you, I can quit. I took this big gamble and it blew up in my face, but I can quit. You can't. So now Mike walks away with nothing. They did have that scene, which I'm like, I don't think him and Iris actually, I don't think we saw them kiss in the first episode. Maybe we didn't because it's just been a while, so I don't remember. But they did show the scene of like, I think when he returned a ring to her, like, oh, like maybe things kind of get fixed. But it's like, nope. So no repairing things between him and Iris. It's like, I think she'll still always care about him, but this probably didn't help that and probably put him on her shit list for a while. He doesn't have Deli. He doesn't have the gold. Also, Sonny went to jail. That was interesting. It's like, wait, about Dutch blowing up? It's like, no. The guy, once again, the connective tissue. Oh my God, is this so good. Connecting, because a lot of these other, like, Florida Man threads ended up tying it to the show in some other shape or form. The guy who ended up, who's murdered the cashier and ended up, his gun ended up in Catcher's hands. The other Florida guy being the one that busted into the prison and ended up being Catcher's escape route. So there's that. But the first one, the one who stole the police car, crashed into the ambulance and stole it, that guy made a deal about like, oh, I'm turning this person in, and they worked their way up the chain until it eventually led to Sonny. So Sonny got busted because it's like, usually you use the smaller fish to catch the big fish. And that ended up, and it was kind of making it seem like that wasn't the case in this regard, but it was. Maybe I'm mixing up the analogy he was making, but yeah, the smallest ring on this, like the smallest bit on this totem, worked its way all the way up to Sonny, and that's why he ended up taking. It's like, wow, and Andy would be your undoing. That was really interesting. I was like, huh. Well, I guess Andy kind of got his guy in the end, but, you know, with everything else that was going on, you know, Sonny kind of took it with stride because I guess he's like, yeah, I won't be sitting up for too long. But things severely did not work out because Ray Ray is dead. We find out Buzz is dead too. I didn't even need the show to tell us anything. The moment they're like, Florida Man was killed by a giant python, and then I saw the boots, I was like, no! Buzz! And then they made the whole point about the alligator boots, which didn't even cross my mind. But then it was like, and then Mike remembered. I thought it was just Mike being like, oh man, that's Buzz. Like, cause I forgot the thing is he wanted alligator shoes. I thought he was trying to make, like, I thought he was going after the snake to try and make some like snake boots or something. But it's like, no, he wanted alligator boots. But the thing is, those pythons tried to eat alligators. And this particular one killed him and tried to eat him, but died in the process of trying to eat him. But this in itself led to Mike finding out, like, no, wait, Dad, you stole the gold. He's like, I pieced it together. Why the floor was already wet. You let Deli stay at your place. You were like, oh, I'm going to stay at Ray Ray's. You guys had already stolen the gold the night before, put the truck back in like we had planned. And he's like, I thought we had a real moment back then. He's like, we did. It's like, okay, I did it because I didn't trust your girlfriend. I was right. I was like, the moment Deli and Moss left, I would have which obviously you also, I guess he was hoping, well, he made that point like he said going like they were going to leave, but it's like, yeah, but you doing that put Mike in an unfortunate situation because he thought the gold was in there, and that led to him almost getting killed. So it's like, yeah, you almost got your son killed doing what you did. But he was like, yeah, when they were going, then we'd all get our shares of the money. Like Buzz and Ray Ray were going to keep their hands on it and stuff like that. But because it's like, yeah, I never trusted that Deli woman. And it's like, all right, tell me the truth. For once in your life, were you ever going to tell me about the money? And he was like, no. And it's like, why? Because you would have taken the money and you would have left. And because regardless of it all, how messed up their relationship is, he liked having his son around again. And it's like, I didn't want you just to leave, but you're here now. And I won't be in this prison that long. But for Mike, it's like, I don't plan on staying here. So we'll see what the future kind of holds on that front. Because he did end up taking over the bar while Sonny's in prison. He's even staying above the prison and everything. So I guess, well, I don't know if Caitlyn ran her story, but I don't know if it really worked out for her in the grand scheme of things. It feels like she's still where she started. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's also the point of this episode to some extent. Everyone kind of went back to zero and kind of had to start fresh. I mean, Deli's on the run. She wants to disappear. Obviously, she legitimately cared for Mike, too. It's just like, it's that thing of like, yes, I was caught between like, these are both people I like. And despite the BS with Mike, at least Mike's not the guy that killed my dad. So there's that. And so it's kind of heartbroken that like, right, he didn't choose me. Which even Sonny's like, I'm kind of sad things didn't work out between you and Iris. But he's also like, yeah, but the Deli situation, Deli brought out the you in me. So his dad wasn't like, she wasn't that good of a person. So it's like you and me there's a little too much common ground there, which at the end of the day, they are more like father, like son and everything. But the difference is Mike is able to kind of walk out of here. So I guess and Sonny's just kind of taking it with stride. I think he legitimately probably means it when he's like, yeah, I won't end up in prison for too long. So then there's all the Patsy of it all. So it turns out her and Deacon are, I mean, it's been 3 weeks, so who knows if the divorce isn't finalized. It's just they're separated. So I think she's staying at the motel for now. And the moment that lady walked up, I was like, that's the lady who owns it, isn't she? And so when she walks up to Benny and Clara, they're like, she's like, I'm gonna stay here all the night. All right, because this is my place. I was like, oh no! And we never got a conclusion to that. I'm like, what's gonna happen? You know, what's gonna happen there? I was like, no! I guess you didn't expect her to come back at all. I mean, you should have known at some point. They do have money stashed away. Granted, I don't know what the legal ramifications of that whole situation is going to be. It's like, well, they were running the place, so maybe she'll be kind enough to let that slide. We just never got a conclusion to that. That was just kind of left open-ended. Catcher, I think before the 3-week time skip, ended up leaving Florida. I'm like, where's your story going to take you, homie? Like, also, I should also note, I think he directed the last 2 episodes, this episode and last episode, I noticed. But I was like, hey, Clark Gregg directed these episodes. But yeah, he just kind of gives Florida the middle finger as he's leaving. But I'm like, what is your story going to be? You're a fugitive from the law. Like, you went to jail. Like, you can't, what are you going to do? Go back home and disappear with your family? Like, how are you going to... I mean, assuming your family went back home, but I'm sure things between you and your wife are maybe through. I don't know. You also got your gun back, so I guess you walked away somewhat net positive, I guess. Some silver lining in your life. Iris quit being a detective because it's everything she wanted, but it wasn't worth it in the end because she's always going to feel like everyone's going to think she let Mike slide with everything. So she ended up quitting. Now she ended up getting a job with the FBI because of Dory, because Dory saw Iris sneak in. And so I don't know if it's, because she has like a government position and she's like, right, I'm here to find my brother. So I go, because Iris doesn't know exactly where Moss is. She just knows he's going to be hard to find. So I don't know whether Dory's under the impression like, oh, my brother's somewhere here in Florida, I'm going to find him, in the regards of like, he's hiding out here somewhere. Or is it a situation that she's like, yeah, my brother is dead and I want to find his body. There's still the flash drive situation because Deli was like, it's not important because, Moss is taken care of anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. But there's still incriminating stuff, like the way she made it sound like it was something that would take not only Moss down, but his sister too. So now I'm wondering, you don't think everything went to, I was about to say like, no, she has a government position. I'm about to say like, not unless everything went to his sister, but she probably would turn away all that stuff. Not unless she's dual wielding like the government position she's in, at the political government position she's in, as well as running the family business. Maybe she just let that all die with Moss. I have no idea. And the fact, I guess because she owes like she's there in some official capacity because she has her badge with her, but I guess she's just there because she owes Dory a favor. I wasn't expecting the story to kind of circle back around in that capacity. I figured like, right, that's like, it's a character we got introduced to once, and then like we hadn't really seen her since, so I didn't know like whether she was going to pop back up in any capacity, but in this regard, so it's interesting to see where things kind of go on that front. But circling back, I left off the thread of Deacon and Patsy are split, but, she's still wearing her wedding ring, so she's hoping things will kind of work out. So I guess, like, her and Tyler are at a good enough point, so maybe things will work out. Patsy wants to see, but it's also, like, she's kind of glad she was able to tell the truth. She's not grateful for Mike because he kind of destroyed everything, but it's also, like, right, their family's been full of so many secrets and lies, and now, like, she felt good of not just having hauled that in. I guess we're also going to overlook the fact that she killed a guy. It's like, well, would he have ever woken? And it still doesn't change the fact that she did still murder a guy. And, well, we know Deacon heard that. We don't. Tyler definitely heard about the cheating part, but we didn't hear about the Deacon part. I mean, hearing the part about her killing Jason. So we're going to just kind of let that slide, I guess. But, Patsy's the one that's like, yeah, but what about the girl? And it's like, yeah, she kind of disappeared. It's like, yeah, but none of us really disappeared. We're all dots on some screen. And in that moment, Mike ended up checking for Gil's boat and it was gone. And the thing he had told her was like, turn off like the transponder, the tracker. And it was still on. Went to find the boat, but she wasn't there. I was like, did she abandon it or something? I was like, are we going to find out she ended up with all the gold? But tearing the place apart, he ended up like, because he was just upset, just because like all that's left is a gold coin. And he was probably thinking like, right, like it all started here. Maybe if I just left with her like I wanted to, and then eventually like she wanted us to, just still walked away with nothing. But then lifts up he was kicking it and ended up finding all the gold. And Deli's like, right, did you come for me or the gold? And he looks at her, they're holding hands, her hands on top of his, and she's smiling, and he's smiling, and it's like, yeah, didn't give you an answer, did he? So, once again, as Iris said, either you hit the lottery or you keep, you either kind of split or you keep hoping that slot keeps, like, coming up, aces, in a metaphorical sense, but also, like, that it keeps paying out, is what I'm trying to say. So, there is room for a season 2. Highly doubt it will be, like, obviously going into this knowing that was a limited series and everything, but there's still room for it. I mean, limited series have tendencies to turn around and become full series. I don't know if Netflix has ever done that. It's happened, but it's just like, this is a complete story, and I think it's one of those things of like, I'd love to know the aftermath of some of this stuff, and there's still more story you could tell. You could even follow a different character, kind of very series events, but it's like, nah, this is a complete package story, so we don't need more than this. So just leave with all these questions about Iris's circumstances, or Mike and Deli's circumstances, or how long it is that before Sonny gets out of prison, and what's next for Caitlin, and is Andy feeling and flexing a little bit more about this victory of his, and Benny and Clara, what's going to happen with them, and the motel situation, and Deacon and Patsy, will they work it out? So a lot of factors kind of left open that you could see like, hey, what's the future in those capacities? But it's also like, no, I'm perfectly content with this being the end. So once again, I went into this thinking it was going to be in, and I figured they're definitely looking it up too. It's like, yeah, everyone's kind of like, yeah, there most likely won't be a second season. Cause like I said, from what I'm aware of, it seems like more often than not, like, Netflix hasn't really ever switched over from a series being limited to having it have a full run, so I mean another season or whatever. So, but I'm perfectly content with this being in. It was a hell of a story. Once again, I love stories with like just like the domino effects of like everything going wrong, and just once again, like I said, everyone kind of ended up back where they started to some extent. In some cases, worse than where they started. It's like you started with nothing, you kind of left with nothing, and I mean, Mike kind of won in the end, I guess. Still doesn't change the shit show that they were involved in. Granted, him and Deli don't have to worry about Moss anymore. Now they got the money thing, but Deli's got to deal with the whole, like, right, the guy you're in love with and everything is still a gambler, so that's going to be an issue. So I don't know, you kind of hope them to have a happy ending, but at the same time, I'm like, that relationship is fucked. But, I mean, who am I? I'm no relationship expert. I don't know if this could be the thing that fixes things between them. I mean, it is still the thing of, he did kind of choose staying with Iris, but it's like, did he choose Iris, or did he just want to check up on Iris? I think he kind of chose Iris, because regardless of it, she gave you the ultimatum, and you kind of chose Iris over her. And then it's like, oh, you didn't get Iris back. And it's like, now you came after Deli. But it's like, well, he went after Deli because he knew that he was just following the boat, trying to find Deli. He probably never even, I mean, not unless he figured, I don't think he figured out the gold might have actually been there until he's like, right, I should have searched here. Well, should have known. It's funny enough, like, because it also makes sense why, well, because Deli and, that's interesting too. They were going to try and set the whole thing up at the marina when the gold was already at the marina at that point in time. Dude, that's extra reason why, Ray Ray and Buzz weren't just there for, Moss. They were there in that capacity, but they were also there because they were offloading the gold as well too. So I was like, okay, and making sure that was, being secured and stuff. So there's layers to it. So I don't think he figured out about the gold until he saw it there. I think he legitimately was just going after Deli. But once again, everyone's intentions, it's hard to fully say where they lie. Like, I think people in this series kind of had the best of intentions, but the gambler in all of them ended up winning out in the end, I think, with their long shots and the gambles they're willing to take, and a lot of them coming up short in the process. So, but like I said, a hell of a series, great series. To everyone involved in the show, in front of the camera, behind the camera, cast and crew, I wish everyone the best in their future endeavors. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.